tutare ture Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Ture Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Ture Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha.
Welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Jean Carroll and I'm here in Sussex, England. I'm a doctor of neuroscience and I study and share the neuroscience of Buddhism. I'm delighted to be joining the Tara Mandala team to host this and future Lama live streams. It is my great pleasure to host this special edition of Lama Live, in which Lama Tsultrim Allione will be speaking about the wisdom of Dzogchen and Machig Labdrön's lineage. At Tara Mandala, we are committed to being a welcoming, open and safe community for practitioners and students of all cultures and races, religions, genders, sexual orientations, age, ability and circumstances. And now, I'll hand over to Lama La.
Wow. Good morning, everyone. I'm in our tiny temple in Encinitas because my whole family is in my house and I didn't want to make them all leave so I could do this. So I'm in Encinitas, California, and that is just north of San Diego. There's a big swell coming in today of waves that are going to be like 10 feet high. So the whole town is really excited because it's a surfing town. I'd love to see where you all are from. And so we can feel each other. And as we do that, let's also raise Bodhicitta. That's the intention to be together for the benefit of all beings. And we use this mudra, it's called the one-pointed mudra, for the benefit of beings. So take a moment to touch into your heart. Feel your heart chakra, heart space, with that potential for love and caring. And raise the intention to be together for the benefit of all beings everywhere. It's called the vast intention. Thank you. Bonjour de la France, Germany, North Shore of Long Island. Hi, Ken. And Annie Detsen from Montana, was Tara Mandala for a long time, Canada, Mill Valley, okay. That's California, Texas, Connecticut, Columbia. Ooh, who is that? Hector. Well, greetings, everyone. Salida, that's not far from Tara Mandala. Condra Noble, she's our wonderful registrar. Chicago Island, where is that? Oh, Washington. Huh. Switzerland, Florida. It's so amazing, isn't it? So let's begin with a little meditation. Touching back in on our hearts, and feeling the swell from our hearts as we feel the swell from the ocean in Encinitas today. And that swell going out to benefit all beings. And then raise your gaze wherever you are. Raise your eyes. And recognizing, even though you're inside a building, probably most of you are looking at windows and walls, that even that is the display of Rigpa, the display of awareness. And whatever you're perceiving with your senses is inseparable. And that let awareness turn toward itself, toward awareness. And not finding anything there, feeling the emptiness that you experience when you turn awareness to awareness, open awareness. It's empty, and yet there is cognizance, there's knowing. And resting in the vastness, unblocked, unceasing. No edge, no center. Awareness is not in time. It's not in the past. It's not in the present. And it's not in the future. It's called the fourth moment, or the fourth time, the time beyond time. Just rest. Thank you. How's everybody doing? See Barbara Mueller from Germany. I think we met in 1987. Yeah. All is well. Good. These are challenging times. You know, I keep hearing people say these are unprecedented times, to the point where it really doesn't make any sense to say it anymore because it's just all unprecedented. So let's take a moment and feel that unease of not knowing what's going to happen. Certainly in this country, we have that feeling. Just be with that feeling for a moment. Allow it. Let it be there in that space of open awareness, empty luminosity. And imagine or experience that sense of unease dissolving into that luminous ground of being. And noticing also the speed that change is happening with the speed of climate dysfunction. All those changes. And just be present there. With that disruption. And allow that also to dissolve back into the ground of being. And rest in a relaxed, open, limitless presence. And feel all the busyness of this time of year. Can be a stressful time. And just allow yourself to feel that. And then look directly at it, being completely present with it. And notice how it naturally dissolves. Yeah. What if there's no problem? What if there's no problem? Good. Yes. Karen, it's your birthday. Wonderful you're sharing it with us. Awake birthday. That's what I say rather than happy birthday, because after my husband David died, when it would be my birthday and people would say happy birthday, I was like, no, it's not happy. And don't pressure me to be happy, because that's not what I'm feeling. And then I thought about it more and I thought, well, I can be awake. I don't have to be happy, but I can be awake to whatever I'm feeling. And so now I say, awake birthday. So awake solstice, everyone, too. Here in Encinitas, we sat on the beach at dawn and we read the prayer of Samantabhadra. It's called a prayer, but really it's kind of like a teaching on the ground of being, the rupture from the ground of being, what happens when that rupture takes place, all the different ways we can go into all the realms, and then the return to union. Zongjuk. Zongjuk is the word for the reunification after the split, when the awareness returns to unification with the ground. That's called Zongjuk. So it's not the primordial unity, it's the one that happens when we go back, as perhaps you did this morning. Yeah. Oh, it's so good to be with you, everybody. I thought I would talk today about Dzinpa Rangdröl, because we have a Nundro retreat coming up for the Dzinpa Rangdröl cycle. And I thought I should talk about it and tell people about it, because we haven't done that for a while. And so as I do this, please feel free to write questions into that chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. So I think to really talk about Dzinpa Rangdröl, you have to kind of begin with Guru Rinpoche, because Guru Rinpoche is and Yeshe Tsogyal, and Yeshe Tsogyal is very important in this cycle. They began the Terma cycle in Tibet, although there may have been in the Bön tradition, pre-Buddhist tradition, Termas well before the Buddhist ones, but they propagated the Terma tradition in Tibet in the 8th century. And so in the 8th century in Tibet, Tibet was a huge international power. It was like a superpower in Asia. The Tibetan kingdom stretched all the way to Turkey, and they had installed their own emperor in China, and it went down all the way into India. So now we think of this Tibet as this tiny little Himalayan place somewhere that's now been taken over by China. But actually, it was a huge military power at that time in the 8th century. And there was a young king. His name was Trisong Detsen. And by young, I mean really young. He was enthroned when he was 13 years old. His father was killed, and he was enthroned. And that's the age that they would enthrone kings. They said that as soon as you can stay on a horse, you can be king. So this young king, Trisong Detsen, I think it was in 757 that he was enthroned. In any case, he wanted to be a Buddhist king. He had been on the outlying areas of the kingdom, learning about war and being at war. And something shifted in him. And when he came back and became king, he decided he wanted Tibet to be Buddhist. Now, this met with a lot of resistance because the Bön ministers realized that if Tibet became Buddhist, then that was the end of the Tibetan kingdom, because there wouldn't be any more war. They wouldn't want to kill people, torture them, and control them. And so there was always, at the time of Trisong Detsen, there was this conflict with sort of the existing administration and this young Buddhist king. And so first he invited Santa Rakshita, who was an Indian monk, to Tibet to try to establish Buddhism. But there was so much resistance to that. Just turn off my notifications on my phone. There was so much resistance to the monastic form of Buddhism that Santa Rakshita said, you need Padmasambhava. Padmasambhava is a powerful, magical being, and he can do this. I can't. Because the Tibetan people were very attracted by magical manifestations and power, and they weren't so impressed with this monk thing, you know. So Trisong Detsen did invite Padmasambhava, who was also known as Guru Rinpoche, from Odiyana, where he was born from a lotus. And that means that he was fully realized from the moment of his birth, which is kind of amazing. Imagine if you were fully realized from the moment of your birth. I've been thinking about this recently because we've been teaching this sadhana of Guru Rinpoche, Terma from Machig Rinpoche, and I'd never really thought about how that's kind of the really important thing about Guru Rinpoche, is this idea of being complete and perfectly realized from the beginning. And in a way, what that does is turn us back into our primordial perfection, our already awakeness. In any case, Padmasambhava came from Odiyana when the king was still a young king, and he was kind of arrogant when Guru Rinpoche arrived. and didn't, bow down to him, didn't, treat him with particular respect. I mean, he was respectful, but not, he was king, and that was clear. And so Guru Rinpoche realized he couldn't really teach him if he had that attitude. He couldn't do what he needed to do to shift Tibet toward Buddhism. And so he manifested some miracles and blocked some things that the king was wanting to do. And he was powerful enough that the king completely turned over his entire kingdom and offered him his most precious, I guess you could say, possession, which was Yeshe Tsogyal, who was his queen, one of his queens. He's very young. She was 22 at the time, and she was an extraordinary being. She was happy to be with Guru Rinpoche. It wasn't suffering for her. She was extremely devoted to Guru Rinpoche and became his real partner in developing Buddhism within Tibet, and particularly in the Terma tradition of hiding these teachings that would be rediscovered in the future at appropriate times and then be beneficial at that time. And so they did that for quite a few years, and they joined forces with the king. They built Samye Monastery, which is an incredible mandalic temple surrounded by stupas in the four directions. It really the first seat of Buddhism in Tibet. They built that. And during that time, 25 main disciples developed. And as I said, this whole idea of and practice of hiding the termas came into being. So Guru Rinpoche, so this is the 8th century, and now I'm going to fast forward to the 1700s. In the 1700s, there lived a being named Jigme Lingpa. Jigme Lingpa had direct visions of Longchenpa, who had lived in the 13th century, and Longchenpa had brought together all the sort of disparate streams of Dzogchen and early Buddhist teachings, codified them, organized all of them, and produced his main work, the 7 treasures. And so Jigme Lingpa had direct visions of Longchenpa in the 1700s, and then created what's known as the Longchen Nyingtik. And so he was incredible. Jigme Lingpa was incredible, and his work was so vast and incredible. And then he passed away in 1798. In 1800, another being was born, and his name was Gyalur Dorje, or Yeshe Dorje. And Jigme Lingpa had predicted that Gyalur Dorje would be born, or Yeshe Dorje, after him, when he was asked, will you teach the practice of Chud? And he said, I will a little bit in this life, but I'm going to come back. My name will be Yeshe Dorje, and at that time, I will teach a lot more on the Chud practice. And so this Gyalur Dorje, or Yeshe Dorje, who was born in 1800, was called Do Khyentse, usually called Do Khyentse Yeshe Dorje. That's how he's referred to. The Do part is from Dartse Do, which is a town that's right at the eastern edge of Tibet. I actually spent 6 weeks there receiving the kate and the lung for the whole transmission of Dzinpa Rangdröl with the great-granddaughter of Do Khyentse in 2010. Anyway, this town is like, you come down from the Tibetan plateau. I think it's about at 9,000 feet. But from there, you go straight up and you go to the 12,000 foot Tibetan plateau. So this town is now called Kangding by the Chinese, but it was called Dartse Do at the time of Do Khyentse, and that's where he got the do from Dartse Do. And so then all of his family lineage are called the Do this, the Do that. So this great-granddaughter, who we received the kate, or the complete transmission from, thanks to Tulku Sanak Rinpoche and Zenko Rinpoche in 2010, that lineage comes from Do Khyentse. And it took place in that area around Dartse Do. It was known to be the place where the tea caravans came from the plains of China and sold Tibetan tea. Tibetans drink tea all the time. Like, they probably drink 50 cups of tea a day, buttered tea, because it's the perfect thing when you're living at between 12 and 18,000 feet. The butter actually is like a chapstick, and it's fat, and you're cold. And so this tea is almost like a soup that they make. But in any case, that's where this happened. And so Do Khyentse then was a magical being. He was literally half human. His father was Tangla Ode, who's a protector of a mountain range in central Tibet. The story goes that his parents were with their kind of tribe in Lhasa on pilgrimage, and they were at this place, this Machig temple in Lhasa, and his mother saw a door, and she turned toward the door, and the door opened, and two women were behind it, and they invited her in. She's just in a temple in Lhasa, and this happens. She goes through the door with these women, and they guide her inside. And suddenly she is in another place, another dimension, another realm. And she meets this young male being. I wouldn't say person, because he's not a human. And she spends time with him and comes into union with him. What that experience was like, I have no idea, but it must have been incredible. She's in another dimension. She's with this being. They become that intimate. And then suddenly she finds herself back in that corridor. And she turns and looks where the door was, and there's no door. And her family, including her husband, have been looking for her for 3 days. She's been gone. And she's pregnant. So her human husband accepts this and accepts that he'll be the father of this child who he knows is not his. And she gives birth to this being who, when he's just a few days old, stands up and starts talking as though he's talking to beings that no one else can see. And his mother shouts. She sees him like this newborn baby standing up. And he collapses. And another time when he's also a baby and just small enough so they would just lie him on a pillow, he also disappeared completely for several days. And later in his life, he said that he had gone to other dimensions, been purified, received teachings to dimensions of Guru Rinpoche. And this happened throughout his life. He was like this interdimensional being. And it's just so, his story is so amazing because we can't really conceive of a non-human human. I mean, maybe, there was a period in the 80s where people were talking about being walk-ins. Did anybody else meet people like that? And a walk-in was like where another being would walk into their body, and then they would like different food, and they would be like not necessarily entirely human. But anyway, Do Khyentse, his father was Tongla Ode, who was a protector, very famous Tibetan protector. And if you do the Machig Labdrön protection prayers, you call him, you invoke him. And the mother was human. And so throughout his youth, he went back and forth like that. And at a certain point, he began to have visions of Machig Labdrön. And he had three main visions of Machig Labdrön and Padampa Sanjay. And the third time, he received what we call the Dzinpa Rangdröl. The Dzinpa Rangdröl lineage and the Khandro Tuktik, which is his whole cycle. So he had a vision of Machig Labdrön and Padampa Sanjay transmitting into him, and to his sister, who was like his kind of Dharma consort. She was very important. And this cycle has a lot of chud in it. And it features Yeshe Tsogyal and Machig Labdrön in union as the white Dakini. And it's a complete cycle, meaning it goes from Nundro, the preliminary practices, all the way to Treksha and Togyal. And in between are the Yidam practices of the white Dakini and Tromanakmo, the blue-black fierce Dakini. Those are the two main deities, both female. And then it has the 6 yogas, and it includes Salum, or the yogic practices, and then Rushen, which are the preliminary practices of Dzogchen, and Dzogchen. So it also has dream yoga, and dream yoga is taught right in the beginning in the Nundro time of the practice. And so it's complete, meaning this is like a complete path. And we hold this at Tara Mandala really because of the kindness of Tulku Sanak Rinpoche, who was a student of Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche. Okay, so you hear the word Khyentse? So that's it. This is the Khyentse lineage. So it went from Do Khyentse to Khyentse Wangpo, Jamin Khyentse Wangpo, amazing being, and then Khyentse Chuki Lodro Rinpoche, and then to Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche, and then to Tulku Sanak. So relatively short lineage. Do Khyentse passed away in 1862, and Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche passed away in 1991, and he was born in 1910. he was an amazing Lama who I had the great blessings of receiving 3 months of empowerments from in 1973 in Atashijong in India. He was huge, Dzinpa Khyentse, probably 6'4" maybe, and very big, like not skinny, not like super, like obese at all, but just like a mountain, huge man. And when he would pass by us at the end of the day, giving these empowerments, he would come by and, put the blessing substances on our heads. And he had the most amazing smell. Like, I call it the smell of sanctity. Like his body, not a perfumey smell. It's I can't even describe it. But it was very noticeable to me. And I noticed it in my house, like if lamas would come and stay in my house, the sheets would always smell like this. It's a they say in Italian, l'odeur de santità. Anyway, so what happened was in 2007, I was recognized while I was in Tibet as an emanation of Machig Labdrön, an activity dakini connected to her. And when I returned, Tokusanak was at Mandala. This was in 2008. And I said to him, Rinpoche, I don't understand if I'm an emanation of Machig Labdrön. She was always associated with Mahamudra, which is the nature of my teachings that were taught in the Kagyu and Sakya and Gelugpa tradition. And my history has been a lot in Kagyu. So if she's always teaching Mahamudra, why have I in this life been studying Dzogchen since 1979? And, really deeply in that those teachings since then. Why? And he said, oh, Machig Labdrön's not only Mahamudra, Machig Labdrön's also Dzogchen. And I was like, my ears perked up. Really? Yes. Because her guru in Tibet was Dzinpa Rangdröl. And Dzinpa Rangdröl, who was the tertan of the medical Termas, Dzinpa Rangdröl taught Dzogchen. He was a tertan. And then he said, and then there's Dzinpa Rangdröl. And when he said Dzinpa Rangdröl, my ears kind of, again, perked up. And I was like, why have I heard that before? That's really familiar. I've heard those words, Dzinpa Rangdröl. And so I didn't know at the time what it was, but I looked it up later and discovered it's in my book, Women of Wisdom. In the biography of Ayakandra, she learns Dzinpa Rangdröl from Nala Pema Dundrup, who was a disciple of Do Khyentse. And our stupa at Tara Mandala is dedicated to Nala Pema Dundrup. And then when Adzam Rinpoche came to Tara Mandala, I asked him, do you have any connection with Pema Dundrup? And he said, yes. I have a whole stack of teachings I've received from him. And then I asked him also, do you have a connection with Dzinpa Rangdröl? And he said, oh, yes, I have a big connection with Dzinpa Rangdröl. And so lineage is funny. I remember saying to my son once, lineage is indisputable. You can't argue with somebody about what their lineage is because it is just your lineage. You can't avoid it. I think that's the way to say it. If it's your lineage, you can't avoid it. And so this lineage of Dzinpa Rangdröl turns out is very connected to me and to Tara Mandala. And when all this happened, that beautiful afternoon at our house at Mandala with Sanak Rinpoche, I requested it. I offered him a red kata and flowers and a crystal to make an auspicious connection, not just, hey, how about giving me those teachings? You should never do that. It always has to have auspicious tendril, which is interdependence. So I requested it, and he said, yes, and I'm going to give you it all. And he kept going, it all, like that. And so he started in 2008. By 2009, we were doing a full-on Drupchen of the White Dakini practice at Mandala's newly completed temple. So as soon as our temple was finished, like literally, the first empowerment happened while they were putting in the floor of the main temple. And that first empowerment of Dzinpa Rangdröl was 5 hours long, and it took place on the 3rd floor of the temple that wasn't even completed yet. And then at the end, we danced on this half-completed floor. Actually, I think they completed it during that day that yes, that's what it was. They finished the floor that day. And so I went in to see it, and then we just all started dancing on the floor. And that's when he said, you need to do a Drupchen. And I said, Rinpoche, how about a Drupchu instead of a Drupchen? Because that's much shorter and easier. And he said, oh, Drupchen, Drupchu, they're more or less the same. Just do a Drupchen. So anyway, we did for about 10 years until COVID. And now we're going to do this Drupchu, the shorter one, 5 days, this summer again. And so I'm telling you all this because we are starting another cycle of Dzinpa Rangdröl. In January, I'm teaching the Nundro again. I taught it in May. And I'm teaching it with Beth, Leah Herbert, Lopen Beth, who did the whole cycle in 3-year retreat and has continued to do it and to help me with it ever since then. And also Lopen Chandra, who was involved from the very beginning, will also be with us as much as she can be with her health issues. So the 16th to on the last day, I think, maybe the 19th, we're doing this. It will be online, and everyone's invited. This is a commitment. It's an 8-year cycle. You ready for that? And a commitment to 2 hours a day of practice in that 8 years. So you're going through the whole curriculum that you would do if you were doing a 3-year retreat, but you can stay in your regular life. If you have family or whatever, it's a commitment. It's 2 hours a day is not nothing. But a lot of us can't leave, but we're serious practitioners and we want to do a whole cycle. So this is an opportunity to do that. And it's an incredible cycle. It was considered so powerful, it was kept secret. Many lamas were doing it, but they would never say they were doing it because they wanted to keep its sort of the sanctity of the cycle and its secrecy. We are doing it more openly. And Zenko Rinpoche is really the lineage holder of it. He's a tulku of Do Khyentse. Recently said to Sanak Rinpoche, and I just heard this from Rinpoche, thank you for what you've done at Mandala in teaching Dzinpa Rangdröl, and he's also taught at other places. So he's happy with this happening. So this will be happening. Nundro means foundational practices. It's for purification and accumulation of merit. You'll have lots of support. Everyone will have a Kalyana Mitra. You'll have meetings at the beginning every 2 weeks. I'll be at many of those meetings. You can come to the Drupchu this summer, which you can come to anyway. And you'll have a cohort that you're moving through this with. But what I'm what I wanted to emphasize is you need to get on the boat now, because we haven't opened this cycle since, I think it was 2016 or maybe 14, the last time we opened a cohort of it. And so it's a good moment to take the leap. And it's an amazing cycle. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And it looks like we've got a few minutes left. And I'll just see if there's any questions that have popped up. I don't see any. Oh, what is Mahamudra and Dzogchen about? Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. Mahamudra and Dzogchen are the nature of mind teachings. That they are the teachings that kind of are the very essence and the core of the Tibetan teachings. Sort of like, okay, well, what's really at the heart of this? And by nature of mind, I mean the awareness of our true condition, the awareness of awareness itself. And they're the teachings, particularly Dzogchen, that lead to the rainbow body. The rainbow body means the body which forms at the time of death out of rainbow light, and the corpse, the physical corpse, dissolves. So the corpse, all our elements, dissolve back into light and form what's called the rainbow body. That rainbow body then has the freedom to move and reappear anywhere at any time. And so the Dzogchen and Mahamudra teachings are the most profound teachings within Tibetan Buddhism. I hope that's clear. I'm not seeing more questions. I'll scroll down to the bottom in case somebody's put any in now. It's an amazing program. Oh, great, Nick. Yeah. Are you in the group that started in May? We have 25 people now who have finished the cycle except for Tsogyal and are receiving it this year. You're welcome. We are excited about this new cohort that Beth and Bridget Bailey, myself, Lopan Chandra, Tuku Ursa will all be supporting people in this cycle. And yeah, it's amazing. And I just wanted you to know about it. I didn't want this to come and go and like, oh, I didn't know. I would have been there. I didn't know. Yes, you can be a beginner. Yes, it's a good place to begin as a beginner. Do you have to stay only at one place? No. You can move around. Difference between an emanation and an incarnation. An incarnation is a series that comes one right after another. An emanation can skip time, can skip hundreds of years and then appear. If you needed to choose one practice to commit to for the duration, I wonder what practice you recommend. Well, that would probably the practice of compassion. Just practicing compassion is like the most profound practice because it overcomes ego clinging and all kinds of other obstructions caused by the ego clinging and brings you back to your true nature. Are there unique features that makes this Nundro different than others? Yes, dream yoga is in it. There's also salung in it, some yogic practices, breathing particularly. Yes, there's some differences also in the Vajrasattva that's slightly different. it's the same components that are in Nundro. Nundro is refuge, Bodhicitta, Vajrasattva, Mandala offerings, and the Guru Yoga, as well as the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma: precious human body, impermanence, karma, and suffering that you contemplate. And then those practices. It has a unique feature of Machig Labdrön, and Rinpoche has given the option of doing prostrations to her as a female figure at the request of some people who really wanted to, if they're doing prostrations, to do them to a female figure, of course, recognizing non-duality and that gender is irrelevant at that level. Still, because of patriarchy and the oppression that we've experienced as women, 100,000 prostrations to a male figure might be hard for some people. So we have this option, which isn't always the case. That's a great question. Satiric. The way it's accumulated is more or less the same with counting numbers. This is different than the Dakini Nundra from Ösel if you're thinking of that. This is Dzinpa Rangdröl Nundra. We also teach a Dakini Nundra from Ösel but this is from Dzinpa Rangdröl, which means the inherent liberation of grasping or fixation. Just the name is enlightening. Self-liberate or naturally liberate fixation. So, okay, yeah, Ron, don't worry. If you can't do prostrations, there's some options that we'll talk about during the retreat. But don't feel like, whoa, I can't do that, therefore I can't do this. You can, and we will support you to do that. Yes, it's like the Kagyu Nundro Marian. It has the same components, but then it has these little different things. It has some breathing, it has dream yoga in it, and the Vajrasattva is slightly different. Is there a connection between this and Siyamukha? Not directly, but Siyamukha's wrathful aspect of Yeshe Tsogyal. So in that sense, yes. What's the difference between this and a Nundra that started with Hukuosa? Well, this is a traditional Nundro, which the Ösel Ningtik has many features of a traditional Nundro, but it's so Dzogchen. It's, yeah, it's similar. This is this lineage through the Khyentses. It's a complete cycle. It's the beginning of a complete cycle, whereas Ösel Ningtik is a cycle that's still being downloaded from the Dharmakaya, and it's not complete yet, although it has many amazing features. And I wouldn't say like one is better than the other, or I'd say do this one or that one. But if you want to do a real traditional Nundro and enter the whole traditional path over the next 8 years, this is the one to do. So, yeah, that's a good question because we have a lot of people in that. Is the drum or bell or kungling necessary for the chud? Yes, you do need that when you are doing that. Oh, Maureen, yeah, you're doing it. You're 64. It's amazing. Great. Om, yes, Om is used in Tibetan Buddhism, usually with Om Ahom, and usually every mantra begins with Om in Tibetan Buddhism. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. There's more on our website. If you look under Gateway on our website, it talks about the whole program. There's a commentary of the Nundro that you'll be able to get when you receive the Nundro that has a lot of explanation, a lot more detail than what I gave today. But I love that in this world of ours, this crazy world, we have this thread coming down from the 8th century and then blossoming in the 10th century with Machig Labdrön, and then being carried on and on and on until now. And it has this amazing lineage of the Khyentses. And Tuguzan, a direct disciple, he was a heart disciple of King Trisong Rinpoche. And so that's something very unusual, to have such a close lineage and to have this opportunity. So I just wanted everybody to know. So the Nundro you do for 3 years, and then the whole program is 8 years. So once it's done, there's 5 more years. Yes, you can still start, Josh. This is the newest Gateway group. And so this, you need to do this retreat in January, starting on the 16th. And it will be online. And I'll be teaching it with Lopen Beth and Lopen Chandra. So there it is. Okay, 16 to 19. That's what I thought. I'm excited. It will be beautiful to share this again. And I'm really excited. We're doing the Drup Chu this summer at Mandala. And it is July 5th to 11th, maybe 12th this summer. It's a White Dakini Drup Chu. So it's 4 sessions a day of that practice. There'll be the dancing. And if you want to learn the Lama dancing, you would come early. There's a ritual arts retreat that's before the Drup Chu, where you can learn to make tormas, to do the dances, etc. And all that will be coming up. Nothing is on our website yet for these things. So if you go on there like, I want to sign up, and you're not going to find it, but within the next weeks, it will be there. And I'm telling you these dates so you can reserve them. I believe that the ritual arts starts on the 2nd. And yeah, I'll be around. I'll be leading the Drup Chu with Tuku Ursel, my son, both of us there. And Lopen Beth will be there. Anna will be the head chupan. Eric Jampo will be coming as the Umse, the leader of the chant. And lots of old students will be there. So it's a great time to come to Mandala. And it would be really wonderful to have you all there. Yes. So Khyentse Lineage is Nyingma. Yes, Ken. Oh, good. She's got the dates for the ritual arts. Dalin Denduk, if you came late, you can listen to this. And also, please share this with your friends. This will all be shareable on Facebook and also on YouTube. Tara Mandala Global YouTube. That's this happening simultaneously there. And so if you send it to your friends and say, hey, let's do this together, that could be a wonderful thing. Okay, Merry Christmas. Yes, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And solstice. That's a beautiful turning of the year right now. So great moment to make this decision. I'm going to do this. Okay, so let's dedicate the merit of our time together. And again, thank you for our beloved Dreame, who has been overseeing this Lama Live since it began. And she is focusing now on our network, Mighty Networks, Tara Mandala. Look there. It's a whole online platform. We have daily practices, teachings, discussion groups, etc. And Jean is joining us. And this is her first maiden voyage on Lama Live. And what a beautiful presence she is. So she'll be our host now, from now on. So lots of love, everyone. Let's spread the merit. That means gathering up all the goodness that we just generated and offering it out to all beings everywhere. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going back now to my grandchildren and the normal life. But, you know, as practitioners, we are normal. We're semi-normal. So we function in the normal world, but our minds, hopefully, are not the same. We have this connection to the ground of being. We focus on generating compassion and love for each other. And so wishing you all well at this time where the light returns, and we're coming back toward the light. Okay, thank you. So nice to be with you today.
And thank you, Lama Tsultrim, for your inspiring sharing and for generously responding to our questions and for your warm encouragement to us all wherever we are on our path today. Thank you, Lama La. And thank you at home for your participation and support. It's so wonderful to see your comments popping up in the chat and feel the togetherness of the worldwide Tara Mandala Sangha. And just a reminder, you can follow Tara Mandala on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to stay up to date with our news. The links are in the chat. Join us at the same time next week, that's December 29th, for a special conversation between Lama Tsultrim and Dr. Amelia Hall of Naropa University. Drawing from their decades of experience as both practitioners and teachers, they'll share insights about finding your authentic path of study and practice, bridging traditional teachings with contemporary life, and transforming intellectual understanding into lived wisdom. That promises to be a very interesting discussion. On New Year's Day, Lama La is offering a special New Year's ritual hosted live on Yana to release what is no longer serving us and set our intentions for the year ahead from a place of clarity. I'm very much looking forward to both of those events. I hope you can join us. And please consider joining Tara Mandala Network that will be renamed Yana as of January 1st. Where you can connect more deeply with the Sangha without the interruptions of ads. Following the tradition, going all the way back to the time of the Buddha, 2600 years ago, you have the opportunity to make an offering of dana to Lama Tsultrim Allione. Dana is a Pali and Sanskrit word that means generosity. Offering dana creates an auspicious connection and is a beautiful expression of the interdependence between teacher and student. Dana directly recognizes the precious gift of the teacher and the teachings, without which one could not practice the Dharma. To offer dana, please follow the link you can see in the chat. And now all that remains is for me to wish you farewell, and I hope to see you at the same time next week for Lama Live with Dr. Amelia Hall and Lama La. Goodbye.
Tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re.